Hello everybody and welcome back to the free-to-play Master Duel count. Today we're looking at the 80% Altergeist deck list. This is what I managed to put together after the last two episodes of terrible luck. So we're going to look at a slightly more filled out deck list today. Start with the more generic stuff. So we have a few hand traps. We don't want a ton. We have a DD Crow, Droll and Lockbird, Ash Blossom, and Joyous Spring. Just one of each is fine. This is good against Despia to banish a card out of their graveyard while they're trying to use Branded in Red. You can use Droll and Lockbird on almost any deck. If they add a card to their hand, you can use this card. They can't add any more cards to their hand, so it shuts down a lot of decks that like to search multiple cards in a row, or big combo decks. And then Ash Blossom, we all know what Ash Blossom does. The big hand trap in this deck is Infinite Impermanence, which will branch us into our Altergeist cards. So Infinite Impermanence says you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls and negate its effects. Then if this card was set for activation and is on the field at resolution, for the rest of this turn all other spell and trap effects in this column are negated. So this is good going first or going second. If you control no cards, you can activate this card from your hand. That's the big one. So the main all-star of our deck is Altergeist Multifaker. Multifaker says if you activate a trap card, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is special summoned, you can special summon one Altergeist monster from your deck in defense position except for himself. You cannot special summon monsters the turn you activate this effect except Altergeist monsters. This is the only restriction in the deck. This card will lock you into Altergeist, but you want to use it every single turn. So there's a few ways to get in to Multifaker. You are now allowed to run 2 copies. You have your Meluseek, which says this card can attack directly, and when this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, target one card they control and send it to the graveyard. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add one Altergeist monster from your deck to your hand except for himself. So what you want to do is take Meluseek. You can either summon, attack, send a card to the graveyard, and then in your main phase 2, link summon into Linkuriboh, which just requires one level 1 monster. Then you can search for your Multifaker, set some trap cards, and you're good to go. Another way to get into it is with Personal Spoofing and any other Altergeist card in your hand. So you can shuffle one Altergeist card from your hand or face of field into the main deck and add an Altergeist monster from your deck to your hand, which if you add Multifaker with this card and had just flipped it up, you'll be able to summon your Multifaker and use its effect right away. The next important card is Marionetter. This is your other really good normal summon. When this card is normal summoned, you can set an Altergeist trap directly from your deck to your spell and trap card zone, which is your Manifestation, which summons an Altergeist from the graveyard, your Protocol, which lets you tribute a Altergeist to negate a monster effect, and also says the activation and effects of Altergeist cards on your field cannot be negated, which is very great because they can still try to negate it and it just will not work, which is awesome. And then my spicy tech is the Altergeist Emolatelf. Okay, whatever that is. Special summon this card as an effect monster. It's still a trap. If summoned this way while it is in your monster zone, other Altergeist traps you control cannot be destroyed by card effects, and neither player can target them with card effects. So this protects your back row and is an extra monster for your link plays. Other than that, you have generic counter traps, Solemn Judgment, Solemn Warning. You definitely want 3 of these. This card is optional, but it is great against Despia. It was good against Fusion Destiny, which you'll still see every now and then. Other than that, it's the Compulsory Evacuation Device, and this card just is way better than you think it is. It targets a monster, returns it to the hand. Very easy, very straightforward, very flexible. You can activate this under a lot of conditions. This card should be a Solemn Judgment. This is Ring of Destruction. Just target a monster, destroy it, deal damage to both people. You can't use it if it would knock an opponent out, though, so it's not that great. You don't want to play too many copies of it if you are going to play it at all. Cosmic Cyclone's here just for the Runic matchup. Runic's terrible, so we want to stop that draw 3 as often as possible. And then you just have your pot cards. All of these will banish cards from your extra deck face down to be able to draw cards or search for something really important. The only other two Altergeist monsters are Conquery, who lets you negate an attack if you have another Altergeist card on the field, and if it's summoned, you can target and negate a face-up card your opponent controls. You can actually do this with the hand trap effect itself, or you can summon it off of Multifaker to get a spot negation. And your last Altergeist is Pukari. Now I say Pukari for last because he is a little different than the rest. He does not revolve around traps at all. If an Altergeist monster you control would be used as a link material, this card in your hand can also be used as material. You can only use this effect once per turn. And then if you summon an Altergeist link while it's in the graveyard, which will work during using it as a link material, you can add this card back to your hand, though that is a once per duel effect. So, that's the main deck. Moving on to the extra deck, you have the Link Karibo, like I explained before. It just says when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you contribute this card to change that monster's attack to 0, which is fine. And if it's in the graveyard, you contribute a level 1 monster to special summon this card, which you can actually use Pukari or Meluseek, or Droll and Lockbird, or DD Crow. Very interesting. Now on to Altergeist Hextia. Hextia is probably your most useful Link monster in the whole deck. It says it gains attack equal to the original attack of each Altergeist monster it points to, and when a spell or trap card or effect is activated, quick effect, you contribute one Altergeist monster this card points to, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. It's awesome negate. Also gains a ton of attack power. This is your main way to do your bits of chip damage. And if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add one Altergeist card from your hand to your deck, or from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. So that basically means you can link Hextia and another monster into another Hextia, and then search a monster, and then keep going. Your other monsters are the Altergeist Prime Banshee. Its effect is pretty lackluster. It's honestly only in here because it's an Altergeist name. It says during the main phase you contribute another Altergeist monster, special summon one Altergeist monster from your deck to your zone this card points to. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target an Altergeist card in your graveyard and add it to your hand. Which is pretty useful sometimes. Memory Gant is your boss monster. Memory Gant says during the battle phase, quick effect, you contribute one other monster. This card gains attack equal to that tributed monster's attack on the field. When this card destroys a monster by battle, you can destroy one monster your opponent controls, and if you do, this card can make a second attack in a row. If this card would be destroyed, you can banish one monster from your graveyard instead. So this is your OTK enabler. All you need is one Hextia and one Memory Gant, and you can do a lot of damage. We're talking, I think this gets to about 4,600, and then this one goes to 7,100 when you use the combo correctly. This can also be used during the damage step since it modifies an attack value. So that can be very helpful because a lot of trap cards can't actually be activated during the damage step unless they also affect attack values. As far as the generic cards in your extra deck, you have these three Charmers, the Water Charmer, the Light Charmer, and the Dark Charmer. Since we do have a nice selection of dark monsters, water monsters, a few light monsters, you'll be able to go into these. Each one will steal a monster of the appropriate attribute from your opponent's graveyard, summon it to your field, but you can then use them and that monster to link into Selene. Now, we don't actually play enough spell cards to use this effect, so you want to use it against someone who's already played some spell cards, in which case you get the 3 counters on this card. You can use them to resummon your Charmer, and summon your access code talker for your 5,300, multiple pops, and cannot be responded to, so that can be quite helpful if you're using search effects to stack this on at the end so they can't respond to it. Decode Talker is basically a blank slate. We could even change this out. What I would put in is probably the Fire Charmer, just because got this one. I think Hextia has a fire. Yes, you have options for the fire. So yeah, that's pretty much the deck list. I don't think there's anything else too crazy to go into. There's obviously upgrades you can do to this deck. Just take some of these out, throw in more Ash Blossoms, throw in more Ultra Rares, more Solemn Judgments. I wouldn't use the Thunder King or Sky King or the card from Eldritch. I don't think it's worth it in this deck. Card that can be useful in this deck is Trap Tricks, depending on what trap cards you're running. If you're running a lot of normal traps, Trap Tricks can be very good to make sure you have exactly what you want. I prefer playing with the draw spells. They give you a little extra energy, a little more combo potential. But that's enough of that. We'll just jump right into some replays. So here we're in the rank mode. You can see we did achieve the silver rank. Not anything too crazy. Here's the history here. I will show this usually during every episode just so we can keep track of what's going on. We have all these wins. These two were in the other video there. And then this one was a disconnect. So I'll go ahead and show you the 3 duels that I have saved for you today. So the first duel we have here was versus a Winged Dragon of Ra deck. I don't actually know what that deck does. So we drew our Droll and Lockbird. Exactly what you want to do. They play this card to add a Winged Dragon of Ra from their deck to their hand. And we're going to go ahead and use Droll and Lockbird to say you cannot search any more cards this turn. They're going to play their field spell, which makes it to where you cannot be targeted or destroyed with your god cards. But we're not going to give them a chance to summon any god cards. We're going to summon Altergeist Marionetter, setting a trap from the deck. We chose Protocol since we have the manifestation in our hands. We'll go ahead and poke for 1600, set our trap cards, and pass the turn. The biggest thing you want to do with this deck is never overextend your plays if you can help it. The main advantage this deck has over other decks is to make much more advantage than they do. So we're going to go ahead and in their end phase, they didn't do anything. We're going to use our personal spoofing to grab our Faker, which will then summon itself off of personal spoofing. Multi-Faker will then summon Silcatus, bouncing the back row. We summon the Meliseek. He does something. I thought it was going to summon a monster, so I bounced this field spell so that I'd be able to target it with another card. But it didn't even happen. He goes ahead and scoops. Pretty fast. Pretty easy. I don't think the Egyptian god decks are very good at all. Now the second replay I have for you is pretty fast and pretty funny. So I'll just let it play out for you. We didn't open very great, mind you. So we set our back row, we pass it over, and pop her up. He's playing Self-Decay. So yeah, this toxic deck is still rolling around. I'm not really sure what the purpose is, what the point is. I'm going to activate Extravagance. He's going to take himself out. I'm going to activate a Cosmic Cyclone just to annoy him. You waste my time, I'm going to waste your time. So yeah. Pretty lame. I think this is the 4th duel we had on this account. Awesome. And for this last duel, it's a little bit more exciting. We're playing against a very bad zombie synchro deck. I'm assuming they used the structure deck to build this. So we'll speed it up a little bit, and I'll try to explain some of the combos that are happening on our end, because I don't take mercy on people. Marionetter's is going to set the manifestation from the deck. We'll go ahead and swing for the 1600 and link into our Hexia. Now, since we have manifestation in the Hexia, we know we can summon a monster underneath of him before he gets a chance to play anything. So he's going to draw a card. We're actually going to personal spoofing, getting rid of the Pookery, grabbing our Faker. Faker will summon along with the Silcatus, so we're ready to bounce anything that comes up. Typically, like in this situation, you want to just bounce the normal summon. a lot of decks are very susceptible to being interrupted one time. And we actually have multiple negations and interruption. Now we're going to go ahead and link Hexia and Socatis into Hexia, which will grab a Melistique from the deck. We can go ahead and Manifestation. Now I do mess up here. I wanted to leave that leftmost zone clear so we could summon the next Hexia to that spot. But instead we'll make do with summoning it over here. If you did summon it in the leftmost spot, you would have 2 Hexias fully charged up with the power from this memory Gant. You can see it raises him to 4,300 attack power, and you can use memory Gant to tribute the Hexia and boost to 7,100 attack power. Now that is your typical OTK combo. You want to generate resources until you can do that exactly. Awesome. So that was the replays that I have for you today. Grinding out of bronze is nothing special. Going from silver to gold might be a little more interesting. Hopefully we see some cool decks. Hopefully we can keep this win streak going. But anyways, that's all for today. Thank you for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe. Go follow the Facebook if you can, and have a wonderful day.